Pursuant to the open meeting law, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting or may transmit the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions are being made whether perceived or unperceived by those present and are deemed acknowledged and permissible. Roll call. If you can identify yourself, Catherine.
Catherine Kenny.
Rick Mancini.
Kristen Cantara Oliveira.
Tony Dias.
Tony Sullivan.
And we have 2 openings. Oh, forgot to mention that this is the Historic District Commission meeting. Today is Tuesday, November the 20th. Next item, general business, approval of minutes. So this is the approval of the June 19, 2018 minutes that was not provided in our last meeting. Do I have a motion to accept the June 19?
I make a motion. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next, we have the August 21st minutes. Do I have a motion to accept the August 21st meeting minutes?
A motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And finally, the 10/26 meeting, we had no meeting because we did not have a quorum. Next item, correspondence, we have none. Item 3, budget. Expenditures, gifts, and donations, we've received none. Next item, opening of the bank account. We have not opened a bank account. Item 4, public input. Any public input? Okay, we have some folks in the audience, so can I get a motion that we skip to item 6F?
I make a motion to take F out of order.
I have a motion to take item 6F out of order. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? John, if you can come on down. So in your packet, it has a paper clip on its own. The first item is basically a plan. John, if you can state your name and address.
My name is John Albanese on 225 Prospect Street.
Okay, so Mr. Abernaz, is that
Yes, Albanese.
has requested a certificate of appropriateness because he's looking to build a retaining wall between his property at 225 and the sole residence at 557. 577, sorry. So what the plan shows is Mr. Abanez is looking to create a 2-car driveway off of, is that Prospect?
Yes.
Prospect Street. And with that, there would be a retaining wall that would kind of flatten out the land between his property and allow him to gain about 8 feet. So that's what this drawing is looking right now. There's a surveyor that's supposed to be finishing the work either today or tomorrow, and he has been told to provide 2 pieces of rebar at either end and run a line. Once that line is in place, it would be good for you and your husband to take a look at it, see if you agree with it. If you don't agree with it, we will have the survey, and you would be more than welcome to get your own survey at that time. Mm-hmm. If you agree with it, it just allows the process to continue. Mm-hmm. The next picture is a property at the intersection of High and Prospect. This photo is showing a stone wall. So the idea is that that stone wall would be the look for the retaining wall dividing the Souls and Mr. Abanez's property. It'll be stone without any grout joints in it. Basically, looks like it's
a borderless wall.
Yes, a borderless wall. So that's why this photograph was provided, and I believe I sent a photograph of that type of style, Connie, which you seem receptive to it. The next photograph is Mr. Abernathy's residence, where he's looking to do the driveway entrance. So obviously that little tree on the sidewalk would come out. So the driveway would be between where the existing granite pier to the right is and the granite steps in the left. So that would be a 2-car parking spot at that location. The next photo is looking down the Souls residence, and there's the individual pieces of granite. So the survey will let us know exactly where that property line is, so that when Mr. Abernathy builds his retaining wall, everybody knows exactly where it is. The next drawing is 2 types of retaining walls.
I just have a
Yep.
question. If, I'm just looking at this granite, that's usually some sort of a marker in many
Correct.
cases. So that could be, I see this curve here, that could be probably 6, maybe 3, maybe 6 inch, maybe a foot of soil between your retaining wall and that granite.
Right.
Is,
The conversation that we've had is whatever Mr. Abernathy does on his property, he is going to make the sold property as new.
oh,
Basically, anything
Yep.
that
Sure.
goes up to the wall will all be done new. So,
Right, but I'm just looking at that, and because if this is a marker, as it
Right.
generally is, that's going to set back and leave a little bit of soil.
sometimes it's at the center, sometimes it's to the left, sometimes it's to the right. Well, the survey will be the only thing that will be able to tell us definitely where it is, and then based on that information, we know what we can do. So I provided kind of like a quick sketch of 2 types of retaining walls. The retaining wall that we've been talking about has basically been the one at the bottom, where it would have a concrete footing potentially, and then you would have the exposed brick. So we haven't finalized that, but that's the idea for right now. So the stone would look like from the picture of that property that I had shown before.
So the wall is going to be this lower?
So the lower portion would be the side of the sold property.
Yes.
The upper section would be Mr. Abernathy's.
Okay, and that veneer is going to be similar to the stone wall?
So, well, there's a couple of things. So the footing, that footing would have to be right at that line. So technically, if that's a 4-inch extension beyond the wall, 4 inches is technically owned by Mr. Abernathy for maintenance purposes, and he can only put his footing. So once the survey is done, we're going to ask the survey company if they have different types of retaining walls that they can provide Mr. Abernathy to see which type he wants. But the end result is the look for the soles, regardless of what that design is. This is just an example of different types of systems.
Right.
The one at the top is not a good one because you see where it says repole. That means that the water would be running off into the sole property, and we're trying to avoid that. The one at the bottom would have a drain, so any water would go down there, get into that drain, and work its way down to where he's doing his 2-car driveway. So for what we do here, we can't prevent Mr. Abernathy from creating this 2-car parking garage. All that we're doing is trying to create a happy medium. So right now, any questions regarding anything that I've presented here? Connie,
Yeah.
you and your husband satisfied with the look of the stone?
Yes.
So at the end of the day, before we decide what the stone is, we will have some samples to have you look, both of you. You might want it darker, you might want it lighter, hopefully there's a happy medium, but that process is still to exist. So what we're here to do today is to see if we can come into an agreement and to answer any questions.
So how high is the wall going to be?
So I think, just visually from the photograph, the one that has the cast iron fence, it looks like that retaining wall is going to be at least 5 feet tall. Am I correct?
Yes.
No.
Right around 5 feet, give or take a couple inches.
Yeah. And then Mr. Abernas, in the future, once this retaining wall is built, he might choose to put a wood fence on his side to give himself additional privacy, and that's what the sketch indicates. The sketch here indicates where a retaining wall is and where a fence would happen, which would be just a visual separation between the souls and himself.
Okay.
But that's for
Because before that,
the future.
there was trees, right? There were arborvitaes that gave a privacy. No. There were arborvitaes there. There was a whole.
Right, so,
Because the day that I went, those were being pulled out. They were tall arborvitaes.
so the survey, once we have it, will tell us exactly who owns them. If it's.
Oh, no, I don't
Yeah,
mean who owned it. I'm just saying as far as the privacy factor, because I know at one point when I had seen it, the trees were there and it gave like a buffer of privacy.
It gave a little
Yeah.
privacy, but I didn't like those arborvitae, so I pulled them out.
Yeah, but I'm saying you're gonna have something up
Because those-
instead for privacy?
Yeah, I might decide to pull arborvitae's back once the wall, or I might build a fence or something. But my thought was to put the arborvitae's back on top of the wall. Because right now, the property went like this, all the way down.
Yeah.
And it was all messy up, which you can see through the photos, and there's nothing I could do with that. So I figured if I put a nice stone wall, 5 feet, and then kind of level it, and then put arborvitae's on top of it, that would give us the privacy, or put some type of a fence that he
Yeah.
suggested.
So,
The granite curb that's there is my curb, and that was put there when Michael Brownell owned the property with him agreeing to it, and that was to keep stuff off my property.
okay. Does anyone have any issues with the look of the stone that is being proposed for the retaining wall? I think we already have an example of a house down the street, so I
Yeah.
think it would work nicely.
It looks nice.
Okay, so the other thing that I've done also in your packet is the ordinance 2014-24. And what I tried to do here is I've highlighted the process for how we go with these types of meetings, because this is really the first time that we've had this process. But one of the things that I wanted to bring to your attention is the one that's highlighted in pink. And I'd like to read that out loud. It says, "In addition to public hearings on an applicant for a certificate may be waived by the commission if the commission determines that the exterior architectural feature is so insubstantial that its effect on the district that it may be reviewed by the commission without a public hearing." Okay? If the commission dispenses a public hearing on the application for a certificate, notice of such application be given to the owners of the adjoining property and of other property deemed by commission to be materially affected thereby as above provided. And 10 days shall elapse after the mailing of such notice before the commission may act upon this application. So, because we're still waiting for the survey, because we are dealing with a retaining wall, a stone wall, it seems, I feel comfortable that we really don't need to involve all of the property owners within 100 feet of this property. This would speed up the process. Mr. Habernas hopefully could get the work done before winter. We're trying, and the souls would have a nice wall to look at. So what I would need is to know if all of you would be willing to vote that we're going to basically, what did it say here?
Dispenses with a public.
Dispense of the public hearing. So I'm looking to dispense the public hearing. And so the result will be that the Souls will get a letter and Mr. Abanas indicating that they are now the two parties that are in the overview of what we're doing here. And we're just trying to facilitate just these two property owners, and there's no need for a public hearing to have the neighbors across the street, behind, and the abutters to the abutters. And I think that'll be a quicker process where hopefully in our next meeting, everything's resolved, or even beforehand. Anyone object to foregoing the public hearing process? You comfortable with that one, or?
I'm fine with it.
Fine with it? Do I have a motion for us to dispense the public hearing portion of this application?
Yeah. Go on.
Consider yourself a non-member if you can. I'm just gonna ask the question, because if we do that, we're eliminating all the abutters, and it's working between yourselves. So you're comfortable with that approach? And are you comfortable with that?
Yes, as long as everyone's honest and on the table, yes.
And as long as, I guess we would then want to just put a stipulation in here that we follow these applied, they're not really drawings, but sketches and photos.
Right. So I think I'm going to be looking for two separate votes. The first vote will be just to dispense the public hearing piece, and then we can stipulate anything that we want to add into those.
Okay, so let's do the stipulation, in my opinion, and I'm trying to, I'm trying to get the commentary from the two property owners.
Correct.
So if I was to vote, I would rather vote on, let's establish the provisions first.
Okay.
And then
Satisfied with that?
Yes.
if that works, and
Okay.
all of the provisions are suitable, because they have to be suitable to yourselves as well as Connie. So if that occurs,
Mhm.
then we
Okay.
can vote to not bring in the surrounding abutters.
So what we would do, and what we can do, we would be voting to provide a letter of appropriateness with the following requirements. That a retaining wall with the stone look that we've all seen and agreed to, that will be what gets done, that the survey is complete, and that the survey is agreed by both parties, and that the Souls will have any disturbed areas on their side be fixed as if it was new. Are there any other stipulations?
And that will follow this drawing that you've supplied, the lower
With this,
section?
So,
yes.
as far as the actual design, that would be on Mr. Abernas and his engineers who would come up with it. The understanding is that wherever it's either the face of the stone or the face of the footing, that will not go beyond the property line.
Correct, but that you're gonna use, the
Can
veneer
you
is
explain
gonna
that to
be.
me?
Okay, so these are really two
Mhm.
different types of retaining walls. This one is done where it's actually pitched back a little bit, and your property line would have to be right at the edge over here. With this system, I don't think it's a good design for this particular property, because it requires that any water on Mr. Abernathy's side weep through and come onto your property.
Mhm.
So I'm not recommending that system. The one at the bottom, they actually will pour a concrete footing. This edge of the footing is actually where the property line is. There. So if your granite is back here, technically we could move it over here or keep it exactly where it is, but all of it will be perfectly straight and fixed. This
If I
one,
have to move the granite, will I be allowed time to move it?
he will move it for you based on what we've agreed here today. We want it either removed or put back on your property. Because you've indicated that it was part of your property that was installed when you were there.
Yes.
And you're not objecting to her concrete?
No.
No, so that's yours to do whatever you want. What Mr. Abernas is going to do, once he builds his wall, and that's all in place, now the cleaning up of everything is now focusing on your property to make sure that everything is level and straight. And that's something that we will be the
So the
overseers
concern
of.
is safety too, because originally I had heard it was gonna be 3 to 4 feet tall. And I was concerned about safety of the wall collapsing because the amount of pressure that's gonna be on this wall.
So it's going to be an engineer who's going to design it, and
Okay.
he's going to stamp it. So, plus the building department is going to require that in order for him to get his building permit.
And is that one of the provisions that these city ordinances be followed?
We can put in there that he's going to get a engineered stamp on that retaining wall. So, completion of the survey. That's 1. 2, that the retaining wall is going to have the no joint stone,
Mortarless.
mortarless. It actually has mortar on the backside,
Right,
but
But the front, you can see it.
mortarless look to it.
Now this shows a coping, so that'll be a probably 2-inch concrete?
No,
or-
we had discussed having a bluestone, really not too much different than this one. This is a lighter stone, but based on the color of the two properties, a nice bluestone looked like it would be a happy medium.
So that would be the coping also, not concrete?
On top of it. No concrete. Concrete is for anything else.
But you talk about on the cap.
On the cap, just on the cap.
On the cap, we talk about like a 2-inch blue stone. It matches my house,
Yeah,
and it matches almost everything, and be right on top.
perfect.
So I'll put bluestone cap. So we got survey, mortarless stone still to be determined, but at least it allows Mr. Abernas to pull a building permit with those guidelines. And then he can present the stone to the Souls. We can be the mediators, or if they both agree that they like it, and we like it, then we move on from there.
Well, what I would like to do, hopefully, this year, was to get a foundation, to get the footing down, at least this year. And
So-
then maybe
Right.
in April or March, start up again.
So what I'm looking to do, putting these items in here, is to be able to get a vote tonight to provide you with a letter of appropriateness with these requirements on it,
Okay.
so that now it's the survey, we're waiting for the survey, and then we're waiting for the drawings, you're waiting for the drawings of the engineer who's going to stamp it. Once you have that information, you can now go to the building department to get your building permit to do whatever we need to do. As far as the stone, it's going to work at the same time with all of that, so that we can get this done as soon as possible. So, we have the retaining wall, we have the stone, the layout per plan submitted. And we hope that we can get a copy of the actual drawings of where everything is. So we got the stone, we got the plan, we got the survey. Number 4, stamped, engineer. drawing of the retaining wall.
Putting the Souls property back, that's it.
What I had that there.
Condition.
5, cleanup,
Restoration of property.
Sol's property will be as if undisturbed prior to any construction.
The only thing I can do with that is, right now, that granite that's it's on the property, as you can see by the picture on it, it's not even strictly level, and it's all over the place.
We'll make it straight when you're
Okay.
complete.
What I would like to do is take that out, it'd be much easier, put the footing, and then probably put the granite back on that
Right.
footing.
So that's going to be considered methods and means. So the contractor that's doing the work, he obviously is going to need to remove that temporarily so that he can dig down for the footing. They put a footing, they do whatever they need to do, and then once the wall and the stone is built, they backfill, and in that process, now they put that granite back. But before we put the granite, you might say, maybe my stone, my brick pavers can just continue now, or maybe you say, no, I want the thing back there, so
I
that's.
just want it to be understood that it's my granite.
It's, do you understand that it's her granite?
Yes, absolutely, she can have it, or...
Number
or
6.
I paid for it. And I can
Number
prove-
6, it's your granite curb,
Yes.
okay? Granite curb
Belongs to Souls.
by Souls, no matter where the property line is.
Right.
Property line could be maybe right up against your house. I doubt it, but I'll put that in there. So we have 6 items here. The driveway itself, what's the material you're looking to put in there?
Concrete with a stone to match my sidewalk. It's like a little pebble stone mixed in with the concrete to give that look. It's exactly what...
It's the weathered concrete look that has the morsels of the stone basically exposed that provides a slip-free. So we'll say driveway, concrete. The finish to be determined, I personally don't care if it's a brush, as long as it's not asphalt.
I basically wanted to match my sidewalk.
Yep, it's
Yeah.
concrete.
It's concrete, my sidewalk is concrete.
I'm just gonna say that it's concrete and,
What it looks like is like what they did in front of Tequila Line, you know, on the streetscaping. You know, it's got pebbles, like mixed in.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah. So you already got permission to do a curb cut and to remove the tree?
Remove the tree,
he
no,
needs,
the
he
curb
needs our,
cut, I already sent in the paperwork for a while now.
they're
I had a
not,
contractor send in the permit.
they're not supposed to grant you any of that until you get this letter from us.
Right.
So once you have this letter from us,
Okay.
one goes to the engineering so that they can give you a permit for the curb cut, and the other one goes to the building department so that you can get your building permit.
Right.
What about the tree?
Yeah, that's gonna have to go before, I
That-
guess, the tree committee or Parks.
Park
Tree
board.
committee, I think.
That's part of their process.
Yeah,
Okay.
Right.
I don't like those fruitless pear trees myself. So, is there anything else that we would want to discuss regarding this retaining wall and 2-car driveway?
I guess I would ask the 2 owners represented here, does it meet your requirements?
Yes.
Does it meet your requirements? Okay, then I would give it a yes. I would give it a yes. vote.
So, I have a motion to provide a certificate of appropriateness with the following requirements, which we've discussed 1 through 7. Do I need to repeat them again, or?
No.
Okay, so that'll be spelled out. Do I have a motion to accept with these 7
I'll make the motion
Is there a
for
second?
certificate of appropriateness.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so that's done. The second part of it is that I am looking for a motion to dispense a public hearing on this issue. Do I have a motion to dispense a public hearing on this issue due to its relatively simplistic?
I'll make a motion to dispense with the public hearing.
Do I have a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. So I'm going to read this ordinance again. I think within 10 days, I need to send both of you a letter that will spell this out. If there are any errors, please let me know ASAP. And I won't consider it complete until both of you either email me or send me a letter indicating that you agree with the terms of the certificate.
I'll send you an email back.
Excellent. Thank you, John.
Yep, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good holiday.
Okay, do I have a motion to go back to item number 6, first topic, A?
I'll make a motion to go back to 6A.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
A second.
All in favor? Any opposed? So item A, design guidelines. So as you are all aware, the Preservation Society has submitted the design guideline application. I'm happy that the Historical Commission is going to provide a letter of approval. The one thing that I need to do, Connie, is I need to send Jim the architect that I spoke to in Philadelphia and her contact information and what she's going to propose so that you can include that in your CPA application.
Okay.
Because it's now the Preservation Society is going to be taking over. I'm
Kristen's
happy.
on it too.
The what?
Kristen's on it too.
Yeah.
Look at me, I
Well,
got enough on my plate.
So the reason that the Preservation Society makes sense in requesting the CPA money instead of this board
Mhm.
is because they don't have to go through the RFP process.
Mhm.
If we had submitted the application and we were granted the money, we would need to go through the RFP process, and we will not be guaranteed to get the firm in
That-
Philadelphia that we want a particular style, just like the ones in Newton.
And it's beautiful, and it's
Yeah.
it's amazing.
Really nice.
So in my conversation with the architect, she indicated that the one thing that she's going to be adding to here would be, I guess there's a new FEMA regulation where they changed the elevation, and some historical properties could now be within flood zones. So they have a separate guideline for that. One of the things that I'm going to put in my email to Jim is, I think Fall River is different than Newton, where we have a lot of homestead parks, and in particular, we have Oak Grove Cemetery, which is one of only a dozen park cemeteries. So I'm going to ask that that be a separate piece that will provide guideline to the park board for the gravestones. So in particular, right now, is at Oak Grove Cemetery, I believe there's a 36-inch height restriction on all of the stones. So we have the archway entrance and the curvy roads, everything's beautiful. And then over to the left side,
Mm.
Straight and square.
it just looks terrible, and it's all the same height. I think this is important because they plan, at least the parks and cemeteries plan to expand the cemetery over on the right side. And if we have this guideline, hopefully Parks and Cemetery will see that, no, you need to create the curved road so that it's like a park. And that You don't have any restrictions of the stone heights, and it would show something a little bit more unique about Fall River that other communities don't have. So it would be 2 additional things to what they've done in Newton.
Now, what was the price for that?
It was,
With all of the addendums?
I believe it was around like 40 or 44,000, but the CPA application went in for 50,000, just in case, who knows?
That's small money for all of the work that I saw on
It
that.
Right.
includes hotel, airfare, everything.
Yeah, that's small money.
Especially for the amount of people that
Yep.
will be able to use this and reference this so far into
Exactly,
the
it's gonna be
future.
a reference for everyone in the
It's
city.
such a resource that we need so desperately.
And the work will be
So,
done
yeah.
within 6 months.
Oh,
Once-
That's amazing.
Yeah, that is, the data that's in there
Right.
is absolutely amazing. There's a lot.
I mean, for me, I almost want to consider it an emergency application because technically we can't do anything
Without guidelines.
without that. So I would be in favor of an emergency
It's
application.
Oh, you can't, because even things that are emergency, you don't vote for as emergency.
So our board being unable to do what we're supposed to do because we don't have that guideline is not an emergency.
Well, if you can sell it.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah, so, well,
I'm not saying I disagree with you, I'm just saying good luck trying to get everybody else on board.
yeah, but if you can support it while we have the discussion.
I,
Well, the worst
I
thing
would
that
support it.
the worst thing that could happen in the CPA meeting is they say, no, we don't find that it's an emergency application. Okay, but if they do, now it goes to the city council in the next meeting, the money is available, and in March, we have our guidelines.
let's see, even something like this that comes up tonight, it's all new territory, and then we have somebody else that's, requesting something else. And it is new territory because we
Yeah.
don't have the guidelines.
So
in
I
place,
promise,
so-
I, at the CPA meeting, I won't stop talking until I get everybody to it. So how's that?
No,
All
no,
right.
because I'll be there all night.
Any further discussion on the design guidelines? Okay, next topic, Steep Brook Historical District, proposed new. So that's something that I'm working with Al Lima to identify which properties we're looking to create a historical district. So basically, that area from where Route 79 is, all the way to Freetown, that's kind of like the Steep Brook area. That has, I believe, 7 of the oldest properties in the city that we've identified. So it would be a great historical district. I personally would like that any future historical district be 40C districts. So versus a regular district. So the city
Oh,
right now has
okay.
5 historical districts.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Those districts do not respond.
Answer to us.
Yeah, has
Right.
nothing to do with us. So if there's a creation of a new historical district, I believe it always should be a 40C district. But any questions on the,
Restrictions to protect.
yep, any questions on the Steep Brook Historical District? Okay, next item, item C, Border City Mills Historical District. So my printer ran out of memory. I'll move that around. So, the city currently has a waterfront plan or some kind of plan that indicates Border City Mills. And they are bringing their line all the way to the property, the little bump out on the right of North Main Street, which is the Narragansett Mills.
Oh, where the registry is?
No, the registry is in the Sagamore,
That's the other
which
side.
is on the left side.
This is
The
where
Sagamore
social-
here,
this
the
is where
Narragansett
social
is here.
services are.
Sagamore is this one. Coney Island Hot Dogs is here. in the corner.
Okay, so down here is Border City, down there.
This is the Border City Mills right
Okay,
here.
all right, okay. I was thinking totally different. I was looking at the opposite
Right.
way.
So what I was looking to do was the city already identified it and in their plan has called it a historical district. That's what they're envisioning. what I've done is I said, well, Oak Grove Cemetery is on the National Register. It makes sense to enclose that. And then there were a number of other properties, including at the very bottom, St. Joseph's Church, which is the other bump out there. And my house happens to be in that block too. So I wanted to make sure that that encompassed everything. So that's why it got a little bigger than what the city is proposing. This is just a conversation piece. The next step would be to identify all of these properties.
This is the cemetery right here?
So this is the
Yeah,
North
right.
Burial Ground.
Yeah.
And that's another burial ground, I forget, I think it's called like Willow Tree Cemetery.
Yeah. And then there's the one on St.
And then
Mary's
this is
Street.
St.
Mary.
Joseph's?
Yeah, it's on St. Mary's Street.
Or St. Mary's? or
St. Matthew's.
St. Matthew's. St. Matthew's Cemetery.
No.
Oh.
St. John? Oh, St. John.
Is it St. John?
That's what she said.
Okay, one of them.
She's
There used to be
She
the
lived
St.
on it.
Matthew's Church with the double
Yeah, the towers.
towers
the
and stuff, so.
Steeples.
So that was my first attempt at it. Obviously, in order for it to be a historical district, it can't be houses in corners and stuff, so that line would have to move around. But this is a starting point. We need to identify all of these properties. Once we agree that these are the properties that we're interested in making a historical district, we're going to send them a letter to let them know what it is that we're doing. And with that letter, we're going to have a survey where we're looking to see if they're interested in being in the 40C district. If it comes back we're less than 50% of the people, obviously we need to identify and remove our borders. But part of that will be, hopefully the North End Neighborhood Association will have meetings to educate the people in this area of the value of being within a 40C district. And at the same time, there's going to be a cost because all of these properties are going to need Form Bs. So we have to figure out a budget. You know, since the city has already identified it as at least half of this being a historical district, maybe the city is willing to take on some of those costs. So, but it's a starting point. I'll try to email everybody this.
Well, the other thing too, like when you're going about that during the North End, it would probably be a good time for us to go in, for the historical commission to go in and do our PowerPoint presentation as
Yep.
well.
All 6 members will be there.
That's all you got?
We've moved around so much that people no longer know where they meet.
What do you mean?
Morton Middle School cafeteria. The 3rd Wednesday of every month. Okay, any further discussion on Border City Mill Historical District? Next item, Quikasham Valley Mills Historical District letter to the property owners. Okay, so there's 2 additional documents in here. Please disregard it because one of them was an application for a certificate and procedures for filing. I wanted all of you to have it so that you know what the process is. So disregard that. All right. So the letter is titled 40C Local Historic District Survey. And I won't read the whole thing, but I'll just read the first paragraph. Dear Sir, Madam, your property is listed within the Quikasham Valley Historic District. Because of this, the Fall River Historic District Commission is interested in your opinion regarding the creation of a local historic district known as a 40C district over your existing historical district. So this letter basically is just letting them know why we think this is a good idea and looking for feedback from them.
So where is this going to?
The next page, the next document has a survey questionnaire. And it has 6 questions. First question is, do you think that the Quikasham Valley Mills Historical District is historically significant? Yes or no? Number 2, do you think that the Quikasham Valley Mill Historical District should be preserved? Yes or no? Number 3, do you believe that the Fall River Historic District Commission should appoint a study committee to investigate the feasibility of a local historic district, yes or no? Item 4, if yes to the above question, what kind of project should be exempt from review? Under state law, routine maintenance, repair, and landscaping are already exempt from review. Typical exceptions are for things like paint color, storm windows, storm doors, satellite dishes, etc. Number 5, overall, do you support the concept of a local historic district? Yes or no, or not sure, but would like to find out more. And finally, item 6, please include any other comments that you would like to make in this space below. So we would be sending that out with a,
You need more space between 4
I
and
will
5,
fix
because
it.
if you're gonna have them write, they need space to write.
right.
I actually think, I like everything you're doing, because I've been down this road, so I like everything you're doing. Except this looks so wordy that, like, for the average person getting this, I'd put it in the trash, because it's just so wordy.
So
Well, this whole thing that goes with it is very,
I appoint you two to be a subcommittee to get it
So-
to an easier.
So when we did the local historic district, we did a survey questionnaire, we did it in kind of like a little like folds,
Yeah.
little squares, little check-off marks.
Can we have that?
Yeah, I have copies of all that, and then the information that went along with it was really simplified, so people understood it. It's difficult to like read.
Tony's wordy.
I just
I-
Oh, I
like to,
get,
No, I get what you're
you
saying.
give really good information,
But see,
but I
when you
wouldn't,
asked,
I'd be like, pfft, I
So-
wouldn't want
but
to.
when you asked, would you like more information if you're not sure, that's when
Right.
you can get wordy with them for that individual.
and we can put that one on our website, but I need somebody, one of you two or both of you,
We could do that.
to take it on and get it to that point where we can send
Yeah,
it
we
out.
can do that.
Yeah, this needs to look more like a survey,
I'm happy
like
to.
a real survey.
You also might want to put it in a different language too, have language options. If you mail it out, maybe
Good
put like
point.
a scan code, so people can do that on their phone too.
Good
If they don't
point.
speak English, they can talk into the phone.
Yeah, and we can
To
do a
have-
presentation
To
also.
have Portuguese and Spanish.
Okay,
Mm,
we'll have you do
definitely.
the Portuguese.
I don't speak Portuguese.
Neither do most people.
You do. You
That's all
do,
right.
right? There you go.
All right, so Kristen and Connie, you guys will take on the letter to the
We're gonna
Quokasham
destroy
Valley.
this.
Thanks a lot.
Do whatever you'd like. Okay, any further discussion on the Quokasham Valley Mill District letter to the property owners?
Where's the Quokasham Valley Mill gonna be?
It
The
exists.
district. It exists right now.
It exists. We're just saying that we're now looking to make your existing historical district.
Do you have a CAD map
No,
of
I
it?
know. I know it exists. I'm saying, what's the borders for that? Do you know offhand?
Yeah, I know exactly where the border is.
Do you have a CAD map of it?
Yes, it's on our 2017 annual report. It's on the 2016 Historical Commission annual report.
Yeah, I have to go through 200 something pages.
No, what
just-
if you-
What's just the border?
If you have the CAD map, it'd be kind of cool
Did you
to,
have
So when you say CAD map, it means something completely different to me?
And it's not on the website.
So-
so we need a CAD map for this.
So Google Maps has a map that has the outline of the buildings
Yes.
on it. That's what you mean, right?
No, the CAD map has the little squares, and it has a number in each square.
Oh,
Is
you
that
mean
not
the
a-
parcel map. She's thinking of the property.
I have that. Done. It's already done. I have the
Can
whole
you
city on
just
there.
tell me the basic borders that we're
I will
looking at?
draw it
with
up
this?
for you. I will create the map.
I'm just asking now, like, the sort of the streets that
Okay.
border it.
You know Walgreens?
Yes.
So that's where the mill used to be,
Walgreens. Oh, yeah, okay, Walgreens and Applebee's
in
and
the
all that, yeah.
Quokasham Valley Historic District. So Brighton Avenue. So north of Brighton
Wait,
Avenue.
No, Walmart. You said Walgreens, so I'm thinking,
Walmart.
Walmart and Brighton, okay, that's what I
I know
thought.
Charlotte.
Walmart, McDonald's.
Yeah, so
where
Jeff-
Sam's
So
closed.
Jefferson Street, Brighton Avenue, all, yeah.
Yes, so north of Brighton Avenue,
Mm-hmm.
Walmart, and all of the mills
Mhm.
behind there.
Mhm.
That's the northern part of the Quequechan Valley Mill.
Okay.
The southerly part is where Jefferson Street is,
Yep,
where the mill used to be,
right.
and all of those horrible looking brand new houses that are in it. Did I say that correctly?
Yes.
Yeah, they're really awful looking.
They really,
I should mention the contractor's name in next meeting. But anyway. But all of
you
those,
shouldn't.
yes, I should. And I don't mind too. Anyway. I'll have a map next time, I promise.
They're
Does it-
shiny and white.
Does it go up, it doesn't go up to Rodman Street, right? Or does it? 'Cause I
No,
mean-
it stops, I think, a street or two before Kennedy, and it goes towards Route 24.
It's complex. When you look at the
Alright.
map, you'll see. It's
I'll
just such
look.
a
I was
complicated
just,
area.
I'm just trying to get a basic, that's all, I don't need.
No, 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 this will be really quick, and the public can also see
Mm-hmm.
what I'm talking about.
Are you going to connect?
No, he's gonna show me.
I couldn't find the correct wire again. I'll have to buy another one. Okay,
Oh, that's cool.
so I'll show Connie first.
But I asked.
So, let me go this way.
Just show it to her.
This is Route 24.
Yeah.
That's Route 195.
Yeah.
That's Brighton Avenue. Okay, so I believe that this large-looking building here is a plumbing supply warehouse. I believe it used to be
That's on Rodman.
Montel Plumbing or something like that. So all of these properties along this street,
Yeah,
all of these new houses, and here are still some mill buildings left.
yeah,
So all of that. Here's Sam's Club,
yeah.
all of the parking lot, Walmart, the mills across the street. And I believe it ends right at 195. That is the Quequechan Valley, Valley Mills Historical District. So, Brighton Avenue,
Mm-hmm,
24,
mm-hmm,
195.
mm-hmm.
Okay, so here is Sam's Club,
Yep.
here is Walmart. So it's this entire parcel with these historical mill buildings here.
Mm-hmm.
The bottom part, you can see the old mill buildings here, what's left.
Mm-hmm.
So all of these houses
Oh,
will be included within the Quequechan Valley Mill Historical District.
oh.
How many properties do you figure is in that
Well,
area?
There's a
originally,
lot of houses.
until they built
They're
that
like on top of
development,
each other.
it was a total of 8 properties. Now they've subdivided it into like 36 home
A lot
lots.
of houses.
All modern, vinyl sided, awful looking houses.
Shiny and white.
I went in one though, it was custom built, they had an open house at one of them, and I fell in love with that house, it was
Yeah.
really nice inside.
Yeah, they all look the same.
No, this one wasn't, this was actually a custom one, and it wasn't, I'm telling you, it was a nice house.
All right.
Right.
Any further questions on the Quequechan Valley Mill Historical District? Okay, next item, annual report. So, does anyone want to take that on?
No.
Because
No.
I don't have any time.
No, we have our questionnaire to do.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Oh, it was Cat and Rick.
I will try to do it over Thanksgiving, maybe. Okay, but I'll keep it on here. Okay,
Just for reference, the Historical Commission's 2018 report.
yeah, all 3 pages.
It was longer than that, you know it.
Okay, well, skipping item F because we discussed it. Item G, properties in violation of working with obtaining a certificate of working without, that should say without, obtaining a certificate of appropriateness, non-applicability, or hardship letter. I have identified one property that continues to do work without coming before this board. That is the Anatoch School,
Antioch.
Antioch, thank you, at 618 Rock Street.
Mm-hmm.
I have provided a 1-page letter says, "Dear sir, madam, it has come to the attention of the Historic District Commission that your property has engaged in a renovation project that is in violation of City Ordinance number 2014-24. As one of the 47 properties within the Highland Local Historical District, you have agreed to follow the rules stipulated within the ordinance. This is the second time that work on the exterior of the building has been done without first coming before the Historic District Commission for a certificate. I have spoken with the building department and have made them aware that they are not to issue any future permits to properties within a 40C district without first receiving a certificate of compliance." After we finish, you can mark it up. "I request your appearance at the next Historical District Commission meeting scheduled on," and we will put December 18. It said September because that's when I wrote this back, at 7 p.m. to discuss this issue further. If you have any further questions, please feel free to contact me. So if you all want to modify this letter,
There's just one spelling error, other than that, it's fine. It's spoken.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to do, I'm trying to find it.
How come I don't have a copy of that?
Second line.
Right here.
Second paragraph.
it's a one-page document.
Yeah, I don't have it.
It's right before application for certificate.
That's what I was trying to pull it away, right?
Oh, right here.
Yeah, you found it? Okay,
Yeah,
good.
Thank you.
That's it.
So
Okay.
I have received some markups. Are we all in favor of me making these changes and sending it?
Certainly.
Yes.
Sure.
I do know they've recently reached out. Do you know this?
No one's reached out to me.
I do know they've recently, I think there's a new person in charge. I'm going now by memory and just hearsay. And I believe that they've reached out to the Preservation Society and are planning to apply for, I think, CPA funds.
Right, so
Is that a
I think
fact?
it might be a separate property that you're talking about.
Are you talking about People Incorporated?
No?
Okay,
Oh,
yes, I think you're
Yeah.
confusing.
Oh,
the
They
two.
already are.
okay,
People
okay.
Incorporated, yeah, this is
Well,
I-
Anthony.
then ignore me.
I will send them the letter and we will
Strike
see what
that.
the response is. Any further
Oh,
discussion?
Who's taking, oh, you're taking notes, I'm like, who's taking minutes? Because Carrie's not.
No, see, when the chair chairs the
Let me
committee,
take minutes.
who's our secretary?
Think about it.
He's been fired. That, it falls to you. Actually,
Oh,
so
isn't-
we need to vote a secretary at our next meeting. Because we have no secretary.
Larry's not on it anymore.
All right, so any further questions?
Well, it would have been Carrie, but she's not here.
Wait, she can watch the video and write them. We'll figure it out. Don't worry about it. You seem to be taking a lot of notes.
I could.
Would you like to take our notes for this meeting?
I could.
There's no format, just
Okay.
thank you. Any further discussion on 618 Rock Street? Okay, I will make the modifications and send out the letter.
Okay, so in the past, we have discussed just notifying all the homeowners in the district,
Yes.
just to kind of reaffirm expectations. Are we?
I have started that letter.
Okay.
I know it exists someplace. I thought I had copied us at some point. I'll dig it up again
I don't really
and
see it.
I'll bring it up.
Because we've had some movement, ins and outs.
Letter to property owners. We'll discuss that at our next meeting.
Certainly.
Okay, next item, item 7, new business. First item, merger of the Historic District Commission with the Historical Commission. So, under Mass General Law, the Historic District Commission is allowed to function as a historical commission. So, being that the city charter prevents folks from being on multiple boards, it makes a lot of sense to have the two boards combined. So I'm in favor of it, and once it finally gets approved, I'll be looking to step aside, so that'll be one thing right there, but the 40C allows for this to happen, so it would still be called a historical commission even though it's under the 40C, because you all will be able to follow, excuse me, the ordinance, chapter 38, that we have for historical preservation. So that would be your role to follow when you're discussing issues of that ordinance. When it comes issues of houses within a 40C, you flip your hat and now you're going into the 2014-24 ordinance for that. But it would be the same folks, it's just you would be referencing different ordinances based on what the discussion is. And I think in reality, it would work very nicely.
I haven't seen the verbiage for that. Like, I mean,
For what?
but you're saying mass law says to go merge in that direction.
Yes.
No, it
Okay.
doesn't, but it doesn't say anything about merging.
Yes,
It's
it does.
just, where's that? Because I never saw that. I've been looking and I didn't find anything about merging the two. I read.
So it
that-
becomes.
No, I read
it
that
acts.
I read that a 40C district can act as a historical commission.
Yeah, that's a merger. So the other one.
No, but it
exempt.
doesn't say specifically when you merge two commissions. It doesn't say that.
So,
It's just something that needs to be written in the ordinance committee. The ordinance committee can write it up, but it's gonna have to fall under the 40C
I-
And is there,
umbrella.
so in addition to that,
Yes.
I have another question, is about, so we have a board of 7. We
yes,
can't have more than 7?
you will have a board of 7 and you have the ability to have 7 alternates.
So I guess when we are talking about merging and stuff, I do think we need to have alternates so we don't become disabled as
Right.
we have been due to different reasons, people not being, a board not being fully occupied.
And that's what I was saying before, is so
Or-
that you can, if people aren't there,
For
you
whatever
can have
reason,
somebody
yeah.
fill in. If people have to drop off the board, if people get fired or whatever, then there's always somebody to step in. So it is important. Well,
Yeah.
but that's what's happened. People have
Yeah.
gotten fired from the boards.
So I am going to read Mass General Law, Chapter 40C, Section 14. This says, Section 14, if the city council or town meeting so votes, a commission established hereunder, meaning a 40C was established hereunder, shall have the powers and duties of an historical commission as provided in Section 8D of Chapter 40, and in this event, a commission may be entitled a historical commission.
Right.
So what that says to me is, if we have a historical commission and they don't ever have a quorum, basically they're not existing. So the only way that the city can operate is that the historic district commission, if the city council so votes it, we take on that duties and now we are called the historical commission. Okay,
That's a
so
little broad
if,
interpretation,
The
but I
city
know what you're
council-
The
saying.
40C just merges with the historic.
right, if the city council so votes, a commission established under, hereunder, which is a 40C Historic District Commission, which they have, shall have the powers and duties of a historical commission as provided in Section 8, Chapter 40. That's the ones that the historical commission follows. In this event, a commission, this 40C commission, may be entitled a historical commission.
Right.
Okay. It's just taking the 40C and putting it under the umbrella of the
Exactly.
historic commission.
So the idea
No,
that,
taking the historic
Taking
commission,
the 40C under the umbrella of the historic commission.
that's right. So the idea that this is going before ordinance and they're expecting to create an ordinance does not make sense to me. what makes sense to me is that the city council votes that this group abides by chapter 40C, section 14. You can't create a third ordinance. There's an ordinance which is
Yes, you can.
which is section 8, chapter 40, that's the historical commission ordinance. And then the other ordinance is the 40C ordinance that we've created. It doesn't make any sense to have a third ordinance that says you are now taking these two and we're gonna rewrite it so that this says this and that says that. It's gonna be very confusing. If
Why? Then you're just gonna have one commission with certain stipulations.
Right, the one commission is if you have your hat and you're discussing issues on a 40C district, you're following the guidelines of the ordinance 2014-24 that creates your historic district commission, which is this piece of paper that I have in here. If it's regulations everywhere else in the city, now you're acting as the historical commission, and this just told you, you are now following the section
I understand all that.
8D.
But you need to merge the two commissions because the historical commission is the one that's a full commission.
This becomes the historical commission. The 40C becomes the historical commission.
Or vice versa.
And then what happens to the historical
What do you
commission?
Or vice versa.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It doesn't make a difference, but he's trying to say that it has to be
Okay.
the Historic District Commission that
Alright.
takes over. It does not have to be you merge the two commissions
Okay.
under the 40C. It doesn't mean that you get rid of the Historical Commission, you merge the two under the 40C. I mean, under the 40C, and they act as both commissions,
So,
which is what they've
Right
done in
now-
other towns.
right now, the historical commission in Mass General Law has no wording that allows them to take on duties of a local
I
historic
understand
district
that, but you're
commission.
creating a new commission that does both.
This becomes that commission. So you guys are already on it. You're on the historical commission and you're on the historic district. Nothing changes for you. It's just those other members that currently are not within the 40C come on board to the 40C, and now they are 40C members and historical district commissions. The issue that we have is I am going to resign, which I'm perfectly happy with, but we're going to have 8 people. One of the 8 people is going to have to be an alternate, because you can only have 7 in a historic commission and a historic district commission.
But the other thing is, when in the 40C criteria,
Yes.
when it was laid out, like how you're selecting them, none of that is on there anymore, that there has to be this person, there has to be this person, there has to be this, it's not there.
So 40C, which is now also known as a historical commission, it's still being run under a 40C. A 40C ordinance indicates that the mayor is appointing 4 people and the city council appoints 3 people.
And that's what we want to change.
But what I'm telling you now is
The
that...
only way to change that is to create a new commission and start with different criteria.
Okay, so right now, the historical commission, the mayor appoints all 7 folks.
I know.
Okay. The historic district commission, the mayor appoints 4 and the city council appoints 3.
I know.
This new historical commission is under the 40C umbrella. The 40C umbrella, 4 people get appointed by the mayor, 3 people get appointed by the city council.
Right. But if we merge the two and create a new commission, then that can be changed so that you can,
I don't think it can.
You're still following the 40C.
It would be an
so in
ordinance that
every
has to be
40C,
changed.
there's always 4 people appointed by the mayor and 3 by the city council, always, no matter what.
So I can go into the other sections, but I know that the 2014-24 ordinance indicates there that 4 appointments are by the mayor and 3 are by the city council.
I know
That ordinance created this group. Now all we're doing is we're taking the other historical commission members that are sitting in those chairs, and we're saying, you're now part of the
Okay.
40C, and you're all historical
And
commission
I
members.
understand that, but do you understand what I'm saying?
No.
When you have 4 people appointed by the mayor, this
Yes.
has been our issue in, all along,
Right.
on the historical commission. You've got people that are supposed to be appointed by the mayor, and the mayor has not been appointing people. So at least if the city council has the ability to appoint 4 people, then at least we would still have a quorum on the committees. Do you know what I'm saying? That's been my issue in the first place, is that the mayor has not been appointing people. And we've been dependent on that, and we haven't been able to function.
We cannot control, regardless if it's a historical commission or the park board, who the mayor appoints when he wants to appoint it. All that we can say is that under Chapter 40C, this group is allowed to act as a historical commission. That's all that we can say.
I do understand that. I'm not disagreeing with that.
So,
Okay.
that's why I was kind of like
No, thank you.
surprised that at the last council meeting, we voted in members when we haven't resolved this. Where
I
Councilor,
was just as
where
surprised
Councilor
as you.
Camara basically asked people, which board would you like to go in? And obviously, it made sense that everyone said historical commission, but in reality, they should have filled this board, and if there were 3 people still left, it's not a working commission, you would have been the historical commission.
But we have no idea why Mr. Camara did that without consulting us first,
Right.
and that was my
Right.
issue.
So the issue
How
that,
that even happened.
the issue that I have is, I do not want to be put in a position where this is going before an ordinance committee that is supposed to write a new ordinance, and I'm gonna go in there and say, why are you writing a new ordinance? Mass general law is pretty clear. 40C allows it to become a historical commission. What's so difficult about that? There's 2 ordinances, an ordinance for the historical commission and an ordinance for historic district commission.
No, I understand that, but it doesn't mean that you can't create a new group with those same,
Kristen, what I read says, if the city council so votes, the city council is the one that said, yes, we want them to be one commission. That's it. Who's on it? Okay, Mr. Dias wants to leave. Okay, we have everyone together. We have 8. One of those folks has to be an alternate. It's really, to me, that easy.
I don't think it is.
Yeah, I think so. I think it is. And then you're gonna serve both, you're
I don't think it's that
serve both
easy.
masters. And in reality, the bottom line is you're really giving the 40, it appears, as I understand it here, that you're taking the 40C. No, it's,
No, I just want you guys to have it.
what you're doing is you're taking
I
the
have it
40C because of these regulations, and you're gonna start calling it now the Historic Commission. Well, we already have a Historic Commission. So here's what happens, here's the new Historic Commission.
But
That's
that
all it
has to
is.
be done by ordinance.
No, not by ordinance.
But it
Well,
does.
It's gotta go by
It
vote.
does have to be done by ordinance because of the type of government that we are as a city. Because if we were a different type, if it was like a town council kind of a thing, then it would have to go before the voters, and the voters would have to vote to combine the 2 and create the new thing. Because of the city, because of the fact that we're the way that we are, it has to go before the ordinance commission.
We're not eliminating one.
Yeah, but you just explained it.
You are eliminating one
No.
in essence.
No.
You are, because you have 2 separate commissions.
No, they're
So
one.
to combine, it's not one. To combine them, you're doing it
Mass
by ordinance.
general law is saying that you can do it. It's right there. They just need to
But you're
reference it.
not, because you're still getting rid of one.
No, you're not.
You are.
You're still following both ordinances, depending on what the issue
Where
is
can we
being.
get clarification?
Mass Historical
From who?
Commission. Mass Historical Commission. And I spoke with Chris Kelly, and Chris Kelly said you go before ordinance committee.
And that's fine. And then let them make the recommendation to the city
And
council.
obviously, city
and then the
council
city
must
council
have gone,
votes on
talked to Mass Historical Commission as well, because he referred it to ordinance.
You believe that our city reached out to Mass Historical Commission?
I know I did.
I know you did.
But I don't know where they got their information from, but somebody must have gotten their information because
Well,
they came up with the same thing.
anyway, you know my opinion on it.
I do.
I shouldn't show
and
up
I
to
do.
any ordinance committee because it'll just muddy up the waters. That's all I'm trying to
But
say.
you will have to, because they're gonna call you and they're gonna call me as chairs of
So,
both committees.
I don't have to because I plan on resigning.
Stop that bad passive aggressive behavior.
I'm sorry, it's been late. The Historical Commission took way too long.
I know.
Anyway,
Let's move on.
next
I'm
item.
gonna punch you.
646 Rock Street. They're looking for a letter of support. They're looking to replace their roof. So I have no
Is that the
problem.
school building?
It's the building right next to the school.
Administration, School administrative building?
No,
Actually,
it's the People
in your
Incorporated.
packet-
It's this one, on Rock Street.
Relax.
People Incorporated.
In your packet, you will see the house. And it has some pictures.
Such a beautiful property.
Except for that awful looking handicap ramp right in
Yeah.
front of it.
That's
So-
so pretty.
Do I have a motion to provide them with a letter of support?
I make a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
I
Any opposed? Last item, open discussion. Anyone have any topics that they'd like to discuss for the next meeting?
No.
Thank you. Our next Historic District Commission meeting is Tuesday, December 18th at 7 PM here in the City Council hearing room. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Well, we didn't get a second.
Oh, you
Second.
second.
Thank you. Kathy.